Welcome to the architecture overview at Humanize IQ. Uh, Most of the architecture around Humanize IQ has been built by students and interns just like yourself. Like we started a year ago, and we started with the interns from India who were students in colleges. Almost everybody you worked in there have worked on this thing. So you are going to be definitely working on it. And rather than start working on something and then understand what you're working on, I wanted to give you a big picture of what you're going to be working on overall at a very high level, not specific projects. And you will see what all is there. And eventually, each of you will need to find a place that is of interest to you and that is to your capability and work on it. uh, I suggest that during your first 2 months, you try your hands at almost everything that you see on in there. The goal is that uh, for every engineer, it is good to have a big picture of everything, jack of all fields, that so that you understand it, and then you decide to master the area that you really need to go into. Okay, so don't try to pick up preferences early on. You don't know what you're good at, and you will not be assigned to projects based on what is interesting to you. You will be assigned to projects based on your demonstrated capabilities. So that means that if you're assigned something and you don't do it well, you don't move out of it. If you actually are assigned something and you finish something quickly and do it better, you will get moved out. We do not want you to be comfortable. So that means that anything that you know, you don't get to work on. Okay, anything that you don't know, you get to stay on it till you know. Okay, so that's kind of how the internship is going to be faced. So we are going to try to figure out what you don't know and always put you into projects that you don't know, that make you very uncomfortable. The goal is to make you uncomfortable so that you learn more and more. So think about it. For example, you start doing front end application and you become very good front end application, and next day you expect that you'll be assigned on the next front end application. Oh no, you get assigned to something totally different which you have never done, kind of thing. Okay, so when you become good at something, you will be kicked out of it, and till you're not good at something, you will be forced to retain in there. That's kind of how we are going to do this. Okay, so that being said, what are the assumptions we use for building our architecture? Most of our architecture is built on open source software. Uh, and our goal is that all the software that we produce is also in theory open source, in the sense that we really don't charge for software, because in the world of AI, charging for software doesn't make sense. AI can create most software within hours. So there is no use in trying to license software. So as a company, we will not be selling any software to anybody, right? We will, if anybody says that we want our software and want to run it themselves, we say, okay, please take it, all for you for free, right? So software is not where the business is, kind of thing. And we will only build software that we need to build. And this is my philosophy of architecture and design. It's called the minimalist approach. Minimalist approach requires that do not build anything that is already there, right? However, to do that, you need to understand what is there. Most people, most developers, most engineers, when they start building, they want to start building everything. They really don't take the time to understand what is there. To me, the best engineer is one who can build something without doing anything, kind of thing, right? Like if you actually remember, the goal of AI is to reduce work, not to increase work, right? So if you work hard for a week and create something, and somebody says that I will not do any work and I will finish it in 1 hour, who is the better engineer? To me, the 1 hour guy is the better engineer, because he figured out how to leverage what is out there to build something productive, right? So we will use open source software. We will focus on bridging that. So most softwares that we'll find will have some things, but they are not connected. So we may have to build bridges between those software where needed, right? We'll try to maximize our reuse of all possible software. Wherever possible, we will prefer serverless. Now, serverless in our environment will mean a couple of things. We will use a platform called Cloudflare. Cloudflare is a CDN, and we will create something called a worker. And easiest way to understand what a worker is, if you guys have heard of AWS Lambda. Anybody heard of AWS Lambda or no? Yes, no, raise of hands. Who has heard of Lambda? Okay, Ishan, Rishika, Anshuman. Okay, AWS Lambda is JavaScript code or Python code which is executed by Amazon on demand. So for example, when you call a web app, when you call a URL, there is no server. Amazon will actually create a on demand server or process on the fly and execute it. It is executed very fast. It is executed on the edge. Basically, Amazon is a CDN. They can execute the function very close to you, so it executes very fast. Since the server is not always running, there is no cost to running it when it is not running. So AWS Lambda is one of the easiest way to have low cost infrastructure. We don't use AWS Lambda. We use Cloudflare workers, which is similar technology where we will write code, we'll deploy it as workers. The code is written in JavaScript. It could be front-end code, it could be back-end code, doesn't matter, but it is deployed in Cloudflare as a worker. And two things come out of us this serverless approach. One is that there is no server running all the time, and secondly, you have infinite scalability. Like for example, today I have 100 users, it will create 100 instances. If I have 1,000 users, it will create 1,000 instances, but then all the 1,000 go away, kind of thing, right? So in theory, there is no limit to the scalability of those workers, kind of thing, and that's kind of one of the reasons we prefer it. In some cases, there are scenarios where the worker doesn't support some things we cannot do serverless. We need to be running all the time. For those, we use Docker containers. We use containers which we run in our containers environment. Now, there are two ways to run containers that are very common. Most common way you have heard about is Kubernetes, and a lot of companies use Kubernetes to run it. We do not use Kubernetes to run it because it is kind of a little bit more complex than we want to do right now because of our scale. Instead, we use something called Docker Swarm, right? So we use Docker Swarm to run it. For you guys, you will need to learn containerization very well because almost all of your development effort, you will be using containers. So as part of your exercise, homework exercise today, I want you to make sure that your computers have Podman installed on your computer. You can write it down, Podman. Podman is an open source containerization platform. Or if you already have Docker Desktop on your computer, that is okay too. Docker Desktop is okay. Podman is okay. I would say that if your computers are not very powerful, then I would install Podman. If you do not have if you do not have, if you have a very powerful laptop, then Docker Desktop is fine. Docker Desktop is much more intense on the computer, requires much more resources than Podman does. So I prefer Podman personally, but either will work. Basically, there are a couple of other containerization platforms. They will all work. Doesn't matter. But you need to have one containerization platform that works. In your local machine, even if you install Podman, enable Docker compatibility. That way you can run Docker PS or Podman PS, Docker Compose up or Podman Compose up, basically. So make sure you test your laptop to there Podman works or Docker works. Docker PS, Docker LS, Docker, like basic Docker commands work and Podman commands work on your computer. So definitely install a containerization platform. We will be developing using containers almost every time. The reason being that we do not want to install anything on our computers. When we install something on our computers, it is different from each person's machine, so very difficult to get consistency. So you always want to use containers for development, and we are deploying as containers, so it's easy to make sure that what you develop is what you're deploying, right? So that's kind of, so Kubernetes or not doesn't matter. And then Docker Swarm is where we will deploy, which is managed by a tool on our site called Portainer, which is used to manage it. It's again an open source software. I'll show you some of those today, and then we'll go from there. Any questions on this? Basically, on that, now I'm going a little bit deeper into technical stuff. So if any of the terms that I talked about is not clear, you can ask question. Anything that you have a question about, or should I go to the next slide? Okay. So primary platforms, I told you we will use Cloudflare, where we will use workers. We will use an edge database called D1. For most people who do not know what D1 is, if you have heard of SQLite is a very small in-memory database that you can run on your computer. Cloudflare provides the ability to run D1 on edge databases, and we use D1 extensively for most of our stuff. And where D1 doesn't, where we don't use D1, then we use Postgres, which we host in our Docker environment and containerized environment. So most of the database we will use is R2 D1 Cloudflare D1 and Postgres. In your cases, most of the time you should think about using D1. And if there is a reason to use Postgres, we want to talk about why we want to use Postgres kind of thing. Since most of the time we are deploying Cloudflare workers, the worker connects to D1 pretty much transparently, gives high performance, and we don't have any infrastructure to maintain, and it is distributed overall across the internet. Portainer is what we use to manage our Docker Swarm environments. We have around 4 environments. So the lowest environments that most of you guys will start working out is called a playtest environment. Playtest environment is somewhere where your code will get deployed and you will test your applications there. The playtest environment will have URLs like www.playtest.humaniziq.ai/ whatever your application name would be kind of thing. Once you're done in playtest, we move it to non-prod, which has a URL of www.dev.humaniziq.ai. It could also be myeteam.ai. So we do the applications for both myeteam, for eTeam Inc. and for HumanizeIQ. So we maintain both of those environments. There are a couple of other domains which we use, but those two are the primary one. The third environment that is there is production. The production environment is www.humaniziq.ai or www.humaniziq.com. However, in the same way, our production environment acts as staging for eTeam environment. So for eTeam, www.staging.eteaminc.com or www.staging.myeteam.ai is run in our production environment. So our production is staging for eTeam Inc. eTeam Inc. is our client, and then eTeam itself has another Cloudflare environment, which is www.myeteam.ai. That is the production environment for eTeam. So in our world, when we talk about production environment, there are 2 production environments. There is the HumanizeIQ production environment, and there is the eTeam Inc. production environment. HumanizeIQ production environment is also the staging environment for eTeam Inc. and eTeam production environment is only for eTeam kind of thing. eTeam's playtest and eTeam's non-prod are in our playtest and our non-prod. And the domains to remember for you guys is humaniziq.ai, one of the root domains, svchub.com, one of our root domains, humaniziq.com, one of our root domains, and myeteam.ai, one of our root domains. So these, typically most of your stuff will be deployed on one of these domains. You will deploy your applications, you will test it out there. In general, when you come to the stand-ups, any demos that you want to do on local host are not acceptable. That means that if it is just on your computer, it does not count. You need to, at the very minimum, deploy it to one of the environments playtest, right? To me, the ideal engineer is one who can take everything to production every day. Okay, that's kind of how I look at it. That is the person I want to become part of my team, that somebody who can take things to production every day. The reason being that the industry challenge today is that everybody says AI, very few people know how to take AI to production. So we focus on taking AI to production every day, and we increase the speed of doing that across each of our people. Okay. Gitti is our source control. So we host our own source code in Gitti. It is very similar to GitHub. We were using GitHub, but GitHub is expensive. So we host our own Gitti. We have same CI/CD process and that GitHub uses. So if you are familiar with GitHub, you will find that Gitti is easier. In most cases, the CI/CD processes are pre-written, and every project automatically gets it. But it is one area which you may want to run. CI/CD is an important part of today's engineering, so it would be good to learn some of the thing. Kesan session on that with you guys. So somebody is here. And admit one guest. How do I admit? Okay, I don't know. Okay, so yeah, so Kesan will do a session on that, and you will get introduction to Gitti at that point of time. I think it is in tomorrow's session. Again, how much you learn about Gitti is up to you. I would suggest that the next learn as much about these things as you can, because it will help you out. Because not because when things run smoothly, but when things don't run smoothly, you will need to know how to debug those issues, kind of thing. Okay. Okay. So this is the high level architecture of everything that we have. It has a lot of things. So I'm not going to go through every box, but I will go through all the layers. And the reason I would keep this box as a reference for you guys is that whenever you are thinking of building something, the first thing should enter your mind: what is it do I need to build, and what is already there, and what can I use? Okay, because when I give you a problem, lot of you will get very energized and build something and then bring it to me, and I'll tell you, okay, we have all of this thing, why are you building it, right? So your goal is to only build the bridge software so that it can be used, not everything, right? So maximizing reuse is what your goal, right? So what does this look like, right? So the top layer, Aura, is what we are branding our products with. Almost every AI product that we are doing, you will see the name Aura. It's just a brand that we are giving to this thing. It's not brand. Humanize IQ is our company name, but Aura is the brand for our AI. Just like Siri or anything else people use, we use Aura for most of our AI names kind of thing. So the top layer is the Aura app layer, where you have a chat applications. It's called Secure Chat. We call it Secure Chat because it is focused on security and privacy. All of you guys have access to it, and you can use it to uh, do same features as Chat GPT now, and do additional things out there. Now, this is not a perfect product. Remember, this product is created by interns. So that means that when it is not working perfectly, it is an opportunity for you to figure out how you can help fix those things. If you have the ability to fix it, you can fix it. One of the rules we follow in our organization, that while you may be assigned into projects, you are pretty much free to participate in any project you want if that is of interest to you, uh, to some extent, basically, right? So if you're free and you feel that there's something broken and you want to fix it, you don't need anybody's permission. You need to do it and get your PR approved, right? So we don't have a permission system in our company. You work on as much as you want, as less as you want, totally up to you kind of thing, right? So Secure Chat is one of the things that you will use. Aura Central is a product that we have not launched. I am hoping that maybe this group of interns will help me launch Aura Central in the next couple of months, and that is what you will put on your resume. What is Aura Central? Aura Central is going to be our B2C product, which means that it is a product targeted to consumers, right? Who are not very tech savvy, who just want to use agentic AI to get things done without worrying about this model, that model, or this thing. We'll show you the prototype, we'll show you what we have built, and at maybe that's a product which gets launched and you talk about it. Because almost everything that out here, either it is there or not there, and if it is not there, you can work on it and make it part of it. You decide what you want to put it on your resume that you did during the 3 months, and that's what you guys can get to do there. But everything is a product which is going to be out there in the world, right? So Aura Central currently is not a launched product, basically. Humanize IQ.ai corporate side, we'll leave it alone. Explorer is Explorer is a product which is our product. So the top layer is all our product. It is not ready-made product. It is products that we have built. So Explorer is a product which allows you to track all the documents and files in your life. Like for example, if I have a phone conversation, it is there. If I have a chat conversation, if it is there. If I upload a document, it is there. Anything about me, it is there. So all my whole life is inside Explorer, basically, in terms of documentation, right? Connect is our suite of product, which will include mail, calendar, and this thing, central simple stuff. Craft Studio is one of the tools you need to really get familiar with, because tool that will allow you to manage your day-to-day work. So Craft Studio, you definitely need to get very familiar with. Tomorrow there is a class on Craft Studio, both on using it and its architecture. So that means that it is an in-house developed product. You use it, and it's an opportunity to learn to develop that product so that you can become part of that team kind of thing. Okay. Studio, will leave it alone for right now. Then we look at secure API or our API proxy. So all of our AI calls, every AI call that any product needs to make, has to go through the secure Aura API proxy. So Sahana, who is one of our lead, is working on that, and she will tell you about secure Aura API proxy. I would say this single API is probably the most complex piece of code that exists in our environment. It is something which create accounts for custom authentication for users, accounts for tools, accounts for skills, account for AI calls, account for billing, account for cost. All of it is in one place. It actually consolidates all of the AI stuff in this thing. And you will start out by using this in your applications, and eventually maybe you may be able to actually work on building or expanding or improving this in any way. Everything that we have built, as I said, has been built by interns, so that means that it's not a final product. It can always be made better, and it is up to you to come up with saying that, okay, I can make this better this way, and we evaluate it and we do it basically. The next part is enterprise in a box, which is consisting of what I've told you before. We have Cloudflare, which is kind of used for almost all of our stuff, and the container and the Docker Swarm environment where we run our containers and other stuff kind of thing. In addition, there is one more product which is becoming very key for us, which is a data lake, which means that almost all the data from different databases in our system are to a data lake are sent to a data lake where they become part of uh, a storage which is incrementally updated, and then you can query it to not only create reports but apply AI to ask questions. Basically, think about it as data of different forms, different application, all in one place, and you can query it and create all sorts of correlation between the data. So in the world of AI, data is going to be very key, and so the data lake is one of the critical pieces of our architecture, and some of you may get to work on that part of it. Then we have orchestrations. Orchestrations are automations tools which are around there. We use at least two of them in our organization, N10, which you see out there, and the second one, which I don't see out here, is Diffie. So we use both for creating orchestrations. Orchestrations are flows. Think of, like, if you do diagrams, orchestrations are live diagrams. They actually can do things basically, and has AI integrated into it. So pretty much anybody can build an AI automation without actually learning to write a single line of code which is out there, right? The next thing out you there is the metaset, metabase, and superset. Metabase and superset are reporting and analytical tools. They allow you to look at create reports and look at data in visualized format. So most people who working with data do not know how to present data, so you will learn how to create reports and how to present data in a way that understands, kind of thing. So that's those are the tool you use. Most likely superset is not what you learn. Superset is slightly difficult and slightly harder. Metabase is much easier, and you just need basic skills to be able to put it together. So that's kind of what you're going to do. A lot of the work we are going to do is going to be around Cloudflare workers and processes, kind of thing, right? Then from this layer, we have a secure guardrails, which are kind of looking at requests and logging those requests. And for that, you are going to look at light LLM guardrails, as well as a tool called LangFuse, where every request is traced and you can see what's going on, and you can improve your prompts and see how your prompts work and don't work basically. So you have secure guardrails, and then below that we have all the AI services, and pretty much we have access to almost every AI that is out there. If something new comes along, we will start using that. We don't have any preference to, like, as an organization, we are not bound to OpenAI or Claude or Gemini or anything. We use all of them. The goal is to figure out the best possible AI to use for a particular scenario and then go with that, right? uh, the left part is autonomous AI agents, and this is kind of new for most of the team. I think that the only person working on this right now is me. This involves tools like OpenClaw, Moltis, and Hermes Agent. And uh, if you guys are able to finish this middle column, then maybe you will move into this part, kind of thing. This is the most interesting part, but most of you guys are currently on this side of it, so eventually you need to learn all of this to get there, kind of thing. So that's kind of our complete architecture at a very high level. And I would say keep this diagram, put a check mark on what you know. I would say that you should know a little bit about each one of them, and each one of them is used. Try to learn them, explore them. You can explore them on your own. You can explore them in our environment. You can explore them as part of your project, basically. And we will be doing sessions on each one of them and teaching you, and then we'll figure out how you do in each one of them, and that will determine what projects you guys fit into, kind of thing. But I would say for a good AI engineer, basic run of all of this is necessary. Like if I look at myself, I think that I can do a little bit of almost every one of them. Some people on my team are better at some things, some people are better at other things. I can do a little bit of almost everything, kind of thing. And that's kind of what I find to be very helpful in building applications and coming up with solution. Because when clients come to us, they're not looking for a front-end application or back-end application or an innate application. They're looking for a solution to a problem. So you need to know all the building blocks these are there. So these are the building blocks that we have. Questions on this architecture? Any questions on, oh, the one part I did not mention, Light LLM. Light LLM is an open source AI gateway, which means that all of our AI goes through that. All of our AI credentials are that. You do not get direct AI credentials. You get keys which are tied to you and which track your AI usage. So if you use AI in our organization, we will know what you're using it for and how you're using it, and that will allow us to determine whether you're making the best use of it. This is one of the tools you should get familiar with at a high level, because this allows you to control cost as well as monitor, as well as make sure that things are working correctly. So that's kind of our ecosystem in a nutshell. Want to see if you guys have any questions, and otherwise we'll go into things basically. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, Raj, I have a doubt. Will you teach OpenClaw also in this program?
It all it all depends on you, Tasneem. Like the thing is that I want to teach you everything. The question is that are you able to learn everything is the question basically, right? Like so, like I said, there is no limit to what we can teach and what you can work on, but yourself. So you need to demonstrate that you're capable of learning OpenClaw, because getting to OpenClaw means that you have to complete everything else in this chart before you get there. Basically, you need to be comfortable with our whole architecture and process, because working with autonomous AI, there's a danger. You could actually cause harm. You could also actually cause damage. Recently, somebody deleted whole production data because they were using autonomous AI. So we do not go for everyone. We'll definitely cover some basics of it, but whether you get to work on it will totally depend on you. It's not on my control, kind of thing.
Okay.
And I suggest that if you play around in your home, be very, very, very careful. Like for example, I would never install OpenClaw on my computer. Okay, like I do not trust it to install OpenClaw on my. I do not trust even myself to be safe if I install OpenClaw on my computer. For me, my OpenClaw is installed on an air-gapped computer which doesn't have access to much things, and it cannot escape from outside, because it does have the ability to rewrite its own code and do whatever it wants. So it is, you cannot control it if you do not, if you give it your password and access, it can pretty much do anything. So you have to be very careful with that kind of thing. Okay. Any other questions on this?
Raj, I have another question. Can we create a tool like OpenClaw also, if possible?
Why? Why do you want to create a tool like OpenClaw? OpenClaw is already there. Why do you
Because it's autonomous, of course, but for our specific things like security, for that we can create for our local thing.
So you can create whatever you want, this name, like this thing, but in general, if you are in software, one rule you will learn is that reinventing the wheel takes a long time, right? So yes, you can create OpenClaw. In fact, there are 17 versions of OpenClaw currently out there. I would rather take it that, okay, this is there. What are the gaps in there? Fix those gaps and make it secure. So that's kind of what we are trying to do, right? Reinventing, like there's a whole set of people building OpenClaw. Why would I want to duplicate their effort, right? So if, and in the world of AI, think about, right, like things are moving fast. So if you are building a product and you build every block by hand, you will time to market will make your product outdated. So you want to build the minimal. So I would not build it. You can if you want to, basically, if that's what's interest to you, basically. Right? I would use something, I would build one top of it. I would build a person. My goal is to build Aura, a personal assistant, which becomes part of your life, and you never have to think about what AI is. That's kind of what we want to build at Humanize IQ, or our personal assistant, right? You never have to touch a computer. I don't want to ever touch a computer, basically. That's kind of where I want to just, like, for example, for me, my AI assistant is on my WhatsApp. I can WhatsApp to her and she will actually start doing things for me, right? That's kind of my AI. I don't want to use a computer at all. And that's kind of what we want to provide to all of our users. And we want to build a product like that, which combines all of this into a product that is usable for the community. Because nobody cares about OpenClaw or Moltis or whatever it is. People play that, okay, I want my work done. That's the only thing people care about, outcomes kind of thing. And so if you have theoretical interests, yeah, absolutely, you can use the technologies available to build it, but I don't know that you would gain from it kind of thing. Any other questions? Okay, let me see if I have anything else in this slide. Otherwise, the last thing we have, where did my mouse go? Okay, feedback form. So please give the feedback. So all of you attended 3 sessions today. That means that I'm expecting 3 sets of feedback. Okay, so we use Git for source code management. Okay, I would say that please pay very close attention to this thing, because you're going to talk about some rules here, and those rules are extremely important to follow every day, every time. You don't follow, you're going to slow yourself down and you're going to get called out by people kind of thing, right? You will get this thing rejected, right? So very important to work in the AI world, right? So let's start with this thing. Hold on. Okay, so we have 3 environments. Like I said, we have the playtest environment where so you will always work in your feature environment. Whenever you're working, you will create a feature environment or a bug fix environment or a defect and branch in your code, and you will push your code, which will get merged to a playtest environment. So playtest is the first integration environment that we have, where your code gets appeared and it gets deployed automatically and you will see it work, right? And then from playtest, we move the code to non-prod, and that is another branch, which is again requires a PR. And from non-prod, we move to main. So this is what the process would be. Every time you start working on something code, you are going to create a branch. That branch is going to call feature, always the word feature hyphen, I am building a tool for chat, or feature, I am doing this, or feature, whatever it is, right? So feature hyphen something, right? When you build that feature, you are going to commit code to that, and you're going to push it to a remote server. And if you're using one of our template, the feature branch will automatically get merged to the playtest branch, which exists for that repo, right? If you're not using a template, then you may have to manually create a merge from a feature branch to a playtest. Now, this is where you have to be careful. The merge from feature branch to playtest has no checks other than you. That means that you are expected to review the code that you're pushing from feature to playtest, right? That is your responsibility. This is the one we will trust, because you are deploying. That way you can test your deployment. Once you feel that things are working in playtest and you feel that you want to go to the next environment, you have to open a PR and you have to get it reviewed by a senior engineer. At that point of time, the review that you did from feature to playtest, you are going to go to your lead or mentor and show that, okay, this is the code which has got generated. I think this is what is correct and this is not correct. And you will then ask for the mentor to approve your PR. Your mentor will approve that PR, or they will reject the PR if you do not follow the rules, basically. Okay, and there are some rules which will cause automatic rejection. I'll show you those. If they approve it, it will go to non-prod, and then from non-prod, you will again do a PR to main. All of this happens automatically. I'm saying you do it because in case the system doesn't work, you need to know what needs to happen, but that's what needs to happen. It happens automatically in our environment. You go to product main and it gets deployed. If it is a client deliverable like e-team, we have one more branch where when it is deploying to our staging, a PR is automatically created to the e-team branch and the code gets deployed to there. So 4 branches are there potentially, 3 for Humanize IQ and 4th for e-team. Automatic PR happens across each one of them. The approval is not automatic. The approval is manual and it requires a review. Your responsibility is to review the branch feature to playtest, and your goal is to get your lead to approve your PR from playtest to non-prod. Okay. Most of this stuff happens automatically. The approval doesn't happen automatically, but that's kind of where you want to look at it, right? So main is the production code, non-prod is integration testing, playtest is your environment. So each of you can deploy to playtest, no checks other than you yourself feeling comfortable. You can push multiple times and make sure you're good before you ask for a review for this thing. And then feature branch is where you're going to work, and defect is where you're going to work. It's feature hyphen defect hyphen not slash kind of thing. Okay, that's going to be the branch structure. So all of you, if you have never worked in Git, how many people have worked with Git before? Anybody has used Git before? Raise of hands. Who has not used Git? Okay, everybody. Okay. Okay. So if you have not used Git before, please do learn about Git itself. There are basic Git commands which we need. So people who have used Git before, if I wanted to first get a repo, what is the first command I need to do to use Git? Starting, first command, first Git to use.
Git checkout branch name.
You cannot check out first, basically. What has to happen before checkout?
Git clone for cloning.
Git clone is the first thing. So first thing is that for any repo, you have to clone the repo to your local branch. Then you can create branch, git branch or git checkout -b and feature hyphen whatever. After you create a branch, you can commit code by doing git commit. After doing commit, you can push the code with a comment, and then merge will happen either by manually merging the code or by automatic merging, and then by doing a PR, and then you keep doing the PR process. I would suggest that while AI does all of this commands for you, each of you should have the ability to do git commands on your own. You will be tested on this thing, that just like during the interviews you were tested to write code without any AI help, these are the commands you will be tested on, that can you run git commands without help. Why? Because sometimes systems stop working, sometimes AI stops working, sometimes automatic stuff stops working. Then you need to know how to do that. So be comfortable in your git commands, because you will definitely need to use them one time or the other. Till you know them, don't use AI. Once you know them, have AI do the commands for you. Okay, so if you do not know the git command, 6 command, cloning, branching, committing, pushing, merging, if you don't know these 5 or 6 command, then I would say get familiar with Git and do it by hand. Once you have done this 10 times and you know that you can do Git commands by hand and you know which one to use, you can use AI to do it. It's perfectly fine. Okay, so anyway, so you will get the local branch. You'll always sync whenever you start work. You should always get the latest thing. You should do a git pull. Git pull gets the latest changes. So for example, you're working on a branch today and you come back tomorrow, somebody else may have changed it. You should always do a git pull to get the latest change. You should always make sure that you have created a branch and you're working in a branch. You can make the change. Changes should be small. This is the most important thing in the AI. Do not make large changes, make very small changes, and then push it out to the remote. Once you push it out, there will be a PR created between feature branch and your playtest branch. Review the code. It is your responsibility to physically review the code that is there. Then open a PR from playtest to dev when you're ready to review with your this thing, and then from dev to production, you open the PR kind of thing. So these are the rules that you need to follow, which will cause automatic rejection of PR, right? You are going to write requirements. You're not going to do any code without writing requirement. In Craft Studio, you're going to write requirements, and you're always going to think of those requirements are the prompts, right? You're going to paste that requirement into the anti-gravity or Google AI Studio or whatever, and that's going to execute kind of thing, right? Your goal is to write a very small requirement which does only one thing. So for example, if I am building an application which will allow me to log in, to show a form and to submit something, it is 20 or 30 requirements probably. Don't try to do it as one requirement as a vibe coder. Do very small requirements and make sure that the AI does small things basically. The reason being that one of the ways to control AI costs is to make sure that we are not transmitting hundreds of files with hundreds of lines of code to the AI, right? So ideally, we want to restrict our code to one file change in one file, change in one function maximum, and not more than 2-3 lines of change or 5 lines of change in an existing code. Or if you're writing new code, then it can be more, but no more than 200 lines of code in a single file kind of thing, right? Ideally, if you look at it, the PR size is less than 30 lines. So what that means is that if you're writing a brand new piece of application and you have hundreds of lines of code, really it doesn't matter. It's new basically. But if you're changing something, if you submit 200 lines of code, your PR is going to take 1 week to get approved, which means that you're going to get slowed down. If you have 2-3 lines of code 5 times a day, people will quickly approve it and you will get your production application to production, your speed will increase. So big changes will slow you down because nobody will review your code. Nobody has the time to sit and review your code. Small changes will actually get you to production faster. So your goal is to break it down into smaller changes and get it approved from your PR. This is kind of very important. If you have too many file changes in a single PR, most likely it is going to get rejected. So these 6 rules are going to cause you to get your PR rejected. So please try to follow these rules. Keep this in mind. And if you do not control your AI, this will get broken the first time you do things basically. Like, so you have to make these instructions as part of your prompts to follow kind of thing. And that's going to be very important. But these are some of the hard rules to keep track of basically. 30 lines of code. To me, if you submit a PR with 200 lines of code, 90, I'm not even going to waste my time. I'm going to say rejected basically by default. I don't care it's right or wrong. It's too big, right? So anything big, rejected. I want you to work on small changes, break a big thing down into many small changes and get each of those small changes done, test it, deploy. Okay. So how do you do this? You write core functionality, then you write connecting things, and then you validate small things basically, right? Like, so if there's a big function with 100 lines of code, try to see, can you break it down into smaller functions, right? And have a PR for each one of them. There's nothing wrong with it basically, right? Test each one of them. It allows you to manage code better. It allows AI to be more cost effective. It allows you to be better in your PR approval process. And also it's better in every possible way. In fact, if you go to any company and if AI was not there, developer would change it. Don't make big changes, make small changes. I will review it and slowly we'll build it up. That's kind of the approach you want to use with AI, even though AI will allow you to do big changes. When AI does big changes, it makes a lot of mistakes. Like if you ask AI to fix one function, you have nearly a 99 to 100% chance of getting it done right in one go. If you ask AI to build a whole functionality, you have a 99% chance of getting a problem that is not accounted for. Okay, so lot of small changes are going to be used to build up big application. That's the key thing to remember in here. Okay, so repeating this again and again, but this is the rule you're all going to break. So I'm going to tell you again, please make sure don't do that. It's going to slow you down. We'll keep pushing you back till you get to that point basically. Okay, so playtest to non-prod, you need to get an approval from a senior developer who will review your code and says it is okay, which means that you get approval from me, you can get approval from Sahana, you can get approval from Kisan, you can get approval from Shriram. Pretty much those are the people who can approve your code basically. And for production also, there will be, every product has a lead. You need to get approval from the production to go to production, and they will review and make sure that it is good basically. Okay. Not going to look into this thing, not important basically. I think I've covered everything. So that's kind of Git for you. Today's homework exercise for you guys is that you're going to set up Podman and Docker on your computer. Okay. I would also suggest installing one more tool called DevPod. Okay. That is also, so DevPod, Podman, and Docker. I would install these 3 tools on your computer. Make sure you have Git on your computer, right? Make sure that you know how to execute basic Git commands of cloning, branching, and this thing. You may get a quiz where you may be asked to clone a repo, create a branch, create a PR, merge a PR, all of those things. So that may be part of your exam on Friday. So definitely practice that part of it by hand without using AI kind of thing. Okay. I told you that I will show you some of our environments. So I am going to show you some of it. So Portainer, so some of the URLs that we are going to go. So we run Portainer, ops.0 access. So this is our Portainer environment, which is where we maintain our Docker environments. As you can look at it, we have different environments. We have playtest, we have Humanize IQ playtest, then we have playtest DB, then we have Humanize IQ development, then we have Humanize IQ development DB, we have Humanize IQ production, and then we have Humanize IQ what is it, production DB somewhere, basically. Hold on, there will be Humanize IQ non-prod DB, production DB. So every database has its own environment, every environment has its own environment. Within these environment, you can see all the containers and stacks which are running. These are software that we run in our environment. You will get to play around with Portainer. You will get to look at things in these environments. I'm just giving you the tools that are available. You should be able to log into these environments and look at it using your Google accounts. If you do not have access, who should you need to go to? Can you tell me who will you go to if you do not have access to this URL? Anybody? Yes, Ishan.
Kisan.
Yes, you'll go to Kesan, or you can go to Shubham. So those are the two people who are on the DevOps side. You can go to either of them and they can give you access to this thing. So this is one area you should get familiar with. The other one is our source code repository. It's at git.code.svchub.com. This is where all of our repository is located, and you will be able to log in using your Google accounts. You by default land up in your location. Do not use your location. Always do your development in the Humanize IQ organization, and that's where you will create repos. In most cases, the repo is automatically created for you from templates, but if you need to create a manual repo, this is where you will create repos, and you'll get more about Git when you get it. The other portal you will use is our Humanize IQ portal. This is available to you guys, and if you log in there, all of our applications that you will develop and that we have already developed show up here. So if you want to show me something, right, first thing you do whenever you develop application, you should make sure that a card for your application is here in the playtest or whichever environment, and I can click on it. I do not want you to give me a URL. I want you to put a card in here kind of thing. But the card you're going to look at, I'm going to show you right now, is called Secure Chat. So if we go to Secure Chat, this is our chat applications which you can use to develop chat. Sahana is going to conduct a session on the capabilities of this thing, where you can build agents, knowledge bases, RAG, and all of this thing right in this application itself. She'll show you out there, but you're free to use this for AI, and any bugs you find, you should log those bugs, and you are free to fix those bugs too, basically. So that's kind of key thing once you are capable of doing that, like not today basically, but once you're capable of doing that. Then you'll go back to workspace. This is your workspace. Everything is out there. The other tool you will use very frequently is Craft Studio. This is going to be one of the tools which are going to do there. Tomorrow you are getting training on this from Anubha and Runmay, who are the use cases as well as the development. Understand the architecture of this thing. You may be assigned to the teams which work on these applications and developing it basically. You can play around with it and see what is out there. Feel free to explore. I'm showing you everything which is out there, but feel free to explore. Definitely you are going to use in there. We have a prompt manager which allows you to manage your prompts kind of thing. So anytime you use prompts in your application, do not hard code prompts in your application. You put it into the prompt manager and then you reference the prompt ID in there kind of thing. So that's kind of how you do things. Same way we have deployment hub. Kesan will go over this thing. This is about deploying application, managing configurations, which means that you never hard code anything in your application. You never hard code a username in your application. You never hard code a URL in your application. You never hard code a password in your application. It should all come from a configuration management system. There's a configuration management system which is out there, which you'll learn to use kind of thing. You need to know this to build applications properly. Any engineer which hard codes anything in the application, very bad engineer. Don't do it. You'll get called out basically. It will not work in all environments. That's the key reason to not do it. Then Aura Mail, this is your mail. You guys have been given humaniziq.com email addresses. Is that what have been given, Priyanka? They have humaniziq.com email addresses?
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Aura is an application which allows you to look at this thing. We are AI enabling this application soon. This application currently has no developers, so it's people who want to make this application AI enabled and work on it. It's an opportunity to work on it, basically. Again, application developed in-house, open source application which has been adapted in-house, so it is managed by us. So definitely one of the applications that you can use, kind of thing.